Sheets movie night.
I think that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I would see that.
Yeah. So she hooks up with Maugham, and she is immediately attracted to him. Apparently over their first meeting, she quote unquote fell in love with him by the end of the first course. He was charming, handsome, wealthy, and, well connected. So essentially her ideal man. And after some social fireworks in 1913, she was able to cement the deal. I kind of wonder if this was a plot engineered by her. So she told Mom that she would attend the opening night of his new play, but she supposedly forgot that she was having a housewarming party at her house at York Terrace, which Selfridge had just bankrolled an entire top to bottom redecoration of it.
She forgot her party was the same night as his opening?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, exactly. She's late to the theater, which ticks off Mom. And then he comes to the party and there's Selfridge holding court like a king. Yeah. And I don't know if there were words said, but right after that, Selfridge did leave her with the house. It sounds like he bought it for her.
The one in York Terrace?
Yeah. And she got all the furnishings, and then he, left her to Mom to figure out how to, make her happy, which turned out to be a tall order.
And now for something not so scandalous.
Stay tuned for more scandal sheets after the break. And now, back to the show. It's early 1914. Mom and Syrie run off to Paris together and supposedly sleep together for the first time.
And that was it.
And yep, that's all she wrote.
And then they got married.
Well, no, not by a long shot.
Oh.
When they return to London, they end up pretty much living together at the York Terrace house. They're hosting parties together. He's holding her purse on shopping expeditions. It's the perfect relationship, so to speak. But then Syrie puts all her cards on the table and tells Mom that she's in love with him. Shortly thereafter, she tells him she wants to have his baby.
Does she mention that she's had one and she shipped him away?
I don't know. He's just like this nebulous being out on the fringes.
I feel bad. Maybe I shouldn't feel bad for the kid.
Because
it sounds like she was kind of a wild... I'm not sure she would have made the best mother.
Right. So Mom did want children, and he was tempted by this. But he was like, we have a legitimate child. This is going to be disaster. They're going to be a social outcast. Things will never work out. And so she goes, oh, but we can send the baby to live with my brother. And then after a couple years, we can adopt it. And nobody will know. Right. I'm like, because this is the way we should start out a relationship. But Mom, says, no, I think I'll pass. 2 months later, and after a vacation in Spain, the couple returned. Together. They go across the border to Spain. They spend a couple days. And then when they return to London, Mom gets a frantic call from Syrie, and surprise,
she's pregnant.
Well, she tells him she's miscarried.
Oh.
So she was pregnant.
Is that true? We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. It stuns him. And he does begin to wonder, maybe she planned it. They said, well, he probably expected her to be in charge of birth control, which is true. Men did generally think it was the woman's.
Still do.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Good point. But they continued on as a couple, even though Mom was quickly starting to think, she's a little cray-cray. I need to move it on. During the summer of 1914, he decides that he wants to put a little distance between them. So he heads off to Capri to stay with his friends, many of whom were homosexual. Many researchers believe that Mom was closeted during this time. Well, clearly he was. He was, impregnating women.
Right.
But I digress. After a couple months, Syrie telegraphed Mom to tell him that she was in Rome and she was coming to stay with him. He freaks out and he tries to keep her from coming to him, but, she's a force of nature.
How did she know that he was there?
He knew. He told her, oh, I'm going to Capri with some friends.
I would not tell someone like that where I was going. Because this is the same woman who, granted she was with her father, but chased her future husband to Africa.
This is true.
So it wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility that she would go off to Italy, which is a far
better place,
prettier and safer place than
Sudan,
to find him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I think he was delusional.
Yeah. This is an interesting relationship.
Yeah. For his part, he was very old English, honorable, and...
Was he as big an age difference to her as...
No.
Welcome?
No, he was only like maybe 5 years older than her. So yeah.
Okay.
So she shows up and he immediately packs up and they leave for England because around the same time World War I is broken out. It's August 1914.
Oh, okay.
So England's declared war on Germany. At 40 years old, Mom was too old to enlist, so he becomes a Red Cross volunteer. When he goes to tell Syrie that he's getting ready to be shipped off to France, she tells him that she's pregnant again. And his biographers say that he was pretty furious because it became clear to him that she was, trying to trap him into marriage. But once again, what did she do? Poke holes in the condom? I guess
she's very persistent, though. Yeah. I'm not quite sure why him. Why is she so interested in him?
Apparently she was just head over heels in love with him.
She was smitten.
Yeah.
And apparently did not notice.
I'd say more than smitten.
He probably
I'd say borderline
obsessed.
Psycho, Yeah. She's like the stalker, Bull the Bunny type, I think.
And she did not notice that he wasn't really interested in her that way. Or they did have a sexual relationship.
This is true. So he refuses to marry her, tells her to conceal her condition, and then when her time comes, he'll arrange for her to go away for her confinement, as they called it. Just generally the last 2 to 3 months of a pregnancy. Basically when you start to show.
Correct.
Yeah. So he sets off for France, and while he's there doing his bit for the war, he falls in love with a fellow volunteer, an American named Gerald Haxton. So much for being in the closet.
So he is on a team, but he has chosen to play around with the other team a little bit.
Yes.
He knows what team he's really on.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
And given that he was in artistic circles, I do find it interesting.
It would be more
acceptable. Right.
By his peers.
Exactly. But then again, we're coming off of about 20 years since Oscar Wilde was imprisoned for homosexuality.
Correct.
So there was probably...
It was never safe. It's still not safe in some places. So
right. So he's having the time of his life, dodging bombs in France with his male lover, and Syrie's getting bigger by the minute. Finally, in January 1915, Mom returns, picks her up in Dover, England, and then they go to Rome so she can give birth in secret, so to speak. And it was reportedly a miserable time for them as Mom was pining for Gerald, and then Syrie was whining all day, which, legit, 9 months pregnant in May in Rome. But then again, you made your bed, sweetheart.
Yes.
Yeah. On May 4th, 1915, Syrie went into labor and was later admitted to the local hospital under the name Mrs. Wells when the baby wouldn't come. 2 days later, Elizabeth Mary, nicknamed Liza after her father's first novel, was born via C-section. My nether regions always cringe when I hear stories about 2 days
of labor.
Yeah. No. Yeah, exactly. Adrienne shaking your head. Nope.
I can't imagine what it's like, but it sounds very unpleasant.
Yeah, exactly. So apparently her nether regions cringed as well because she was told a couple days after the birth that she would not be able to have any children.
More children.
Yeah. Oh. She was incredibly upset, apparently. Maugham wrote down that, he had to calm her down and, give her sympathy. I appreciate this because she's 36 now. And I read all the time about women back then having children into their 40s. Basically, to either their uterus falls out or they start menopause. And yet now, if you hit 35 and get pregnant, you have a geriatric pregnancy.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but my nether regions are not geriatric.
No.
Thank you, modern medicine. Mic drop.
That surprises me as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty offensive.
Thank you. It is offensive, but that's another discussion altogether. So, everyone departs for London soon after the birth of Liza, and things go back to normal for a little while.
And Liza is healthy.
She's healthy, yeah. But then all hell breaks loose because good old Henry Wellcome, her long departed husband.
Oh no. Is he back?
Yes, he's back. He sues for divorce, finally. After so this is like 19...
Why wait that long?
1915, so they've been living separately for a good 5 years now. He was trying...
It was longer than that.
6 years, yeah. Because they split up in 1909, so it's now 1915.
Oh, okay. But Liza is Somerset Maugham's child.
Yes. I read something saying that she tried to pass her off as Henry Wellcome's child, and that's how he got wind of it. But then the account that I read was that he had been having her followed starting in 1912 by his lawyers.
What is it to him?
Yeah, he was basically...
because they're not divorced. So
yeah, he's building a case. Because, I mean, he's still supporting her to some extent. I mean, he's handing over, 2,400 pounds a year.
Yes.
So he's got enough evidence, and so she receives this letter from her husband's lawyer stating that he's suing for divorce and naming Maugham as the co-respondent, which is never a good thing, because when you're named a co-respondent, you're the reason why they're divorcing, and then this gets pulled out into the papers, and it's very ugly. But Syrie's not exactly unhappy, because she's wanted to marry Maugham for
she's wanted a divorce. Why didn't she ask Wellcome for a divorce earlier?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know why.
Because he wasn't doing anything for her.
Right. Well, except paying her. I mean, she's not exactly unhappy. She didn't care about the damage that a public divorce trial will do for her reputation. But then again, I think it was starting to become more normal. So a lot of people did not care. At least not the people that she was hanging out with. Mom, on the other hand, was pretty pissed off, because he'd always depended on her assertion that Henry didn't care what she did or who she was running around with. And now he's the one who's being, called out in this. So he consults a divorce attorney who advises him to settle some money on her and get the hell out of there, because this chick is crazy. But he's not ready to do that yet. I mean, she's the mother of his child, and there's a good chance that she knew he was homosexual. So
yeah,
what's a guy to do? The trial began in February of 1916. I tried to find some good quality mudslinging.
I was hoping.
But they were really well behaved this time around. There were only like these little paragraph mentions of the fact that the divorce had been unofficially granted.
It was very reserved.
Right, it was very. And I wonder,
articles that you find
some places
from American papers where...
Well, yeah, it was carried in several papers in the U.S. I actually found one from the Butte Miner in Butte, Montana.
Yes.
It was like just this little paragraph saying that a decree nisi had been granted.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, very, very uneventful.
Slow news day in Butte.
Exactly. Wellcome really was deprived of his revenge, because he basically had been plotting to take her down for years. So, and then, it was just kind of like a little flash in the pan, and that was it. The divorce was finalized in August of 1916.
What did he want out of it?
He wanted to ruin her name. He hated her. He'd been nursing his...
So why didn't that happen?
Who knows? Could have been because it was in the middle of a war.
Much more important things to focus on.
Right, exactly. So Maugham knew that he had avoided reality for long enough. He would have to marry her. He was a man of honor. But what was the harm in delaying it a little bit longer? He ends up going to the U.S., and while he's there, he reunites with his former lover, Gerald Haxton. So they just reunited, but then Syrie swoops down like the avenging angel. Where's my marriage? I'm being very dramatic tonight. So he says, I'm going to Polynesia to research a new novel. I'll be back in a couple months, and when I get back, I'll marry you.
And he's going with Gerald.
Yes. Sure. His secretary.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Typist.
Yes. But for his part, he returns from his journey in 1917, and he finally puts a ring on it.
Huh.
Although he marries Syrie in Jersey City, New Jersey.
Oh.
Exactly. That face. Exactly. It's like, really?
I've been there.
You have?
I have.
Is it that all inspiring?
It's that face. It's that face.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But the sandwiches are amazing.
The sandwiches are amazing?
They are.
Yeah. I just always picture New Jersey like Trenton.
Yep.
But I've been told that there are nice parts of New Jersey.
Yes, there are beautiful parts of New Jersey.
Well, there you go. Mm-hmm. And I think about the Jersey Shore, and that's enough said about that. So anyway, their marriage is pretty much a disaster. Maugham later wrote her, quote, I married you because I thought it was the best thing for your happiness and for Elizabeth's welfare, but I did not marry you because I loved you, and you were only too well aware of that. They never lived together after their marriage.
And now for something not so scandalous.
Stay tuned for more scandal sheets after the break.
And now, back to the show.
So not too long after their marriage, Maugham took off with Haxton, settling in the Riviera at Villa Mauresque, which Adrienne mentioned in our episode about Maxine Elliott and her villa in the Riviera a few weeks ago.
Right, the Azure Coast, Côte d'Azur, yes.
Côte d'Azur. Syrie